And then I was like, I have to come up with a name. So I'm sitting with one of my girlfriends that came out to visit me, and we're high. And I'm like, I have to come up with an Instagram, page and stuff. And I was like, we got to do a play on cannabis. And I'm like, so what could we do? So we're just throwing things out there, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Cannabosslady. And I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect.
Wait, it's not that deep. I want to welcome you first and foremost to Not That Deep, Jill Cohen. The Cannabosslady herself. I had the pleasure of running into your product on an iPad in a dispensary in Hoboken. And out of the hundreds of options, yours caught my eye.
Love that.
I would love for you to introduce yourself, and then we'll get into, I want to understand like who you are, but also your relationship with cannabis, how you started Cannabosslady, or rather how you became Cannabosslady.
Yeah.
So
it's my purpose in life.
Yeah, so introduce yourself, Jill Cohen.
Yes, thank you. Yay. I'm so glad to be here with you, Dana. So thank you so much for inviting me. I'm truly passionate about cannabis because I'm 54 years old and I started consuming when I was 15. Unfortunately, it's a sad story why I started consuming when I was 15, because I had an abusive childhood and it led to major anxiety that then led to debilitating stomach aches. And in those days, because I was born in 1971, they didn't diagnose anxiety. Anxiety didn't exist. And then they didn't know how to treat that when you did have it. And I kept complaining about stomach aches. And so they give me all these tests and they find nothing because it was just cramping from the anxiety. And so they give me Tums. And that's not working. So it wasn't until I was at a high school party and I'm hunched over with a stomach ache. I just lived with a stomach ache. I always walked around with a stomach ache. And this guy is passing this joint around and he's like, "What's going on with you?" And I'm like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I just live with a stomach ache all the time." He's like, "Girl, you got to take a puff of this." And I was like, "Oh my God, what's that?" He goes, "Mary Jane, ganja, cannabis, marijuana. What do you want to call it?" And I was like, "Well, let me have a puff and I'll tell you." And so I take a puff and within minutes, everything lifted. All the wheels turning in my head that I was so stressed out about, that I was so hurting about, gone. And then the stomach ache was gone. And now I was part of the party for the first time in my life. And I went over to him and I said, "Okay, I really like this. I'll call it whatever you want to call it. Will you be my new friend?" And he's like, "I'll be your new friend and your dealer." And he literally saved my life. And I had, like, from then on, lived a healthy, stress-free, no stomach ache life from then on. And I knew it was healing then, even though at the time nobody else did. And I was like, this helps me. And so I'm going to keep doing it and I have fun on it. So that was the beginning of it. But of course, I had to like be worried about all of the stigma and the legalities and getting arrested and all that stuff. So of course I always was concerned about that and how am I gonna, you know, start my life and get a career and graduate from college and all that kind of stuff. And found out that didn't interfere with it either. So when I grew up on the West Coast, actually, so I'm from Seattle, Washington, and then I went to Arizona State University. Then I went to London for a year, managed a pub called Magpie and Stump.
Shout out.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Wait, I need to stop you because you're in high school in the 70s, right? Or in the 80s?
Well, yeah, 80s, because I was born 71.
I'm like, you weren't in high school when you were 5. That's correct.
Right.
So when you are smoking weed, you have this new guy who's helping you out. You're like alleviating, I'll call it medicine, what you were experiencing, those like alien feelings that you were feeling. And this fixes it. Like, did you feel judgment from others, or were you so standing strong in the fact that this is what's helping you and you don't care what anyone else says?
I took the lead on it. Because I'm a pioneer, I'm a
Mm.
strong woman, and I was even then. And because it was helping me so much, I was like, "You all got to try this." So I was like, "Girls, you got to do this," And I would walk them all through it, show them. I mean, I was making pipes out of apples and water bottles and getting creative or whatever. And then I found, because I don't know if you ever smoked cigarettes, but whenever people would go out and smoke out with the smoke cigarettes with people, they were the coolest people. They were the people that you would make friends
Mhm.
with. They were so much fun. Same thing with cannabis. It's
Mhm.
a tribe. It is a lifestyle. It's good people. And I even say to people that if everyone on this planet was smoking weed, we would have world peace. So,
Yeah.
all these people became my friends that were just so great. And so, yeah, I ended up, after being the captain of the cheerleading team, I ended up hanging out with stoners.
Uh, that's such a dichotomy. That's such a scandal. I love that.
Yeah,
So
and I didn't care.
you're in I love that. I can tell just from meeting you. I met you 7 minutes ago. Like I could tell that you didn't care. And like that characteristic of yours hasn't really fled. So you're in Seattle, you go to Arizona State, then you are in London, you're managing a pub. Have you always had that like self-starter in
Yes.
you?
Well, yeah, I think I was always meant to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't really know what that looked like or what that was at the time. Because in those days, you know, the woman's supposed to, maybe get a college degree, but then she's supposed to marry her man and start having babies and all that kind of stuff. And thank God my mother told me, because she got divorced from my dad and went through hell, and was like, "Whatever you do, graduate from college, make sure you have a career first before you ever marry a man."
Hmm.
So I, planned on going into marketing and advertising and event management, was like my plan with through college. Um, but after I graduated from college, I really wanted to take, if I mean, it's not really called a leap year when you've already graduated, but that's when I was doing my leap year. So I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to look for a career yet. I'm like done with schoolwork. I want to play. I want to explore. I want to travel. And I had this amazing opportunity. This woman, I had a house that I, because again, pioneer. I'm a boss lady. So I had a 3-bedroom house that I was renting out 2 other bedrooms in college
In
in
Arizona?
Arizona. I had the party house with a pool and a slide. And, um, and then I would rent out the 2 rooms, and I'd rent them out so that they paid my rent.
Okay, no one thinks like that. That is so smart.
Yeah.
Did you realize that, like, in a non-cocky way, and although it's not that deep to be cocky, like, in a non-cocky way, were you like, "I know that I'm smart for doing this," or were
Survival.
yeah.
It was survival. So I didn't really know what I was doing. Now I look back and I was like, "Oh my god, like I was really smart." I really was strategic with what I was doing or whatever, but at the time, I was just trying to survive I was working in a restaurant, I was going to school full time, and, dealing with all of the battles of the PTSD that I had
Mhm,
from the childhood and everything, and still didn't have a good family dynamic or support,
mhm,
so I was really by myself. Even though I have 3 brothers,
mm,
um, they were all in the same boat as me, and they were all trying to figure out their own stuff, so they couldn't help me because they couldn't help themselves, so I don't blame
right,
them, and I'm close to 2 of them now. One of them is estranged, unfortunately. And I am peaceful with my parents, but I'm not close to them.
yeah.
But I married into a great family.
You
So
made
that
your own.
yeah, I made my own, I made my own with my friends too.
Mm,
And again, because cannabis is a tribe and it's a lifestyle, a lot of my friends are cannabis users, and they really brought us together. They were the people I could trust. It was nice to be able to sit down and have a sesh, is what we call it now.
sh
But pass the joints around, and but, just to get back really quick from, like, I was managing a pub in London. That's when I was doing spliffs with hash, where you sprinkle it over
Okay,
your
yeah, so what? Because I wanna learn from you today as well. So what is you're a great storyteller as well, I might just add. So what is a spliff?
It's like rolling up your own, like, tobacco, cigarette. But then you would take a block of the hash and you would take a lighter and you would kind of melt like the corner of it and it would kind of turn to powder. And then you would sift it over the tobacco and then roll it in there. And the thing is hash was the least expensive in London than marijuana and stuff. It was easier to get and it was less expensive. So it was like kind of like the poor man's marijuana.
Yeah.
Even though now it's becoming like, a special item.
Right.
Um, and that's where, because again, I grew up again, because like living in Seattle and Arizona and the West Coast, Mexican dirt weed with all the seeds in it coming off the
Mhm.
border in Arizona. And then, with the Northwest, Humboldt County with the best weed in the country,
Yeah.
which now Maine has too on the East Coast. Um, I was, then I started consuming that. And it's like, that's when I really knew what good marijuana was. And, although it was really strong. So it was because it wasn't regulated and it was growing like wild weeds all over Northern California.
Mm.
And so like there was like really strong strains happening or whatever. And so it wasn't like now in the dispensaries where you can control it and decide like, oh, I want to do a functional weed this time and tomorrow I'll get blitzed over at the 30%, but I need to function at the 18%. But back in the day, you got what you got. And so it was like you just wanted to get high. And sometimes you get high and you'd never leave the couch.
Right. You-
But I didn't care because it took away all my pain. So I knew it was healing. And you know what? I didn't realize at the same time that it was an anti-inflammatory.
Hmm.
So it was lowering inflammation in my body. And being that I had started consuming it when I was 15 years old, I'm living a very healthy life.
Good.
And knock on wood, I haven't had any health issues my entire life.
That's amazing, and there probably is a very strong link between
Oh, yeah.
exactly what you're
I think
saying.
so.
So how did you go about first, like, starting this business? What did you originally want it to look like?
So the first thing I did, because I was networking so much in the industry here in New York, and CBD was federally legal, and it
Mm.
was the big thing at the time. I became a brand ambassador for 2 different CBD brands, and so I was kind of like just, you know, again, being a brand ambassador, so selling it for them and getting a cut and a commission and like whatever. And that's when I really learned more about like the cannabinoids and how it all works and how it's made and extracted and all that kind of stuff and how to sell it and how to create my story.
Mm.
And then the pandemic happened. And so then during the pandemic, I that's what I would do is I was having the CBD shipped to the Poconos because I have a house in the Poconos because we took refuge up there because
Huh.
it's more rural. And I was like the Avon lady with a little pink suitcase going into like fire pit parties and,
Mhm.
because everyone was doing things outside. And I would come in. And now that everybody was outside, especially in the Poconos, because people were playing tennis and they were boating and like all these things, they were getting, achy muscles and
Mm.
joints and all this kind of stuff. And then I was like, I have to come up with a name. So I'm sitting with one of my girlfriends that came out to visit me and we're high. And I'm like, I have to come up with an Instagram, page and stuff. And I was like, we got to do a play on cannabis. And I'm like, so what could we do? So we're just throwing things out there, whatever. And then all of a sudden, Cannabosslady. And I'm like,
Ugh.
"Oh my god, that's perfect. Done." And then I go in there and it's available.
Mm.
So I like, of course secure it right away. And from then on, it just took off and it rolls off the tongue really well.
Mhm.
People love it. And what's great about it is it's somewhat discreet because it's, it's a play on the word cannabis, but it's Cannaboss. So it's like, and also boss lady and, boss woman and all that became very popular after the whole women's movement.
Yeah.
So it just all together worked. And so I just took that forward. And so everything I do is Cannabosslady.
It's brilliant, and we'll show the product later, but, like, this was made by a woman. Like, it was so funny when I bought it and I opened it, I said, "Yeah, a woman made this." I mean, there's just no it's just smart. I have a question
Mhm.
because I wanna understand the business aspect of it as well. How was it finagling the legality of it? Like, how did business change once it was legalized? Because it was legalized rather recently, right?
Well, yeah.
Like, there were
2021.
certain places where you could sell it.
Well, so CBD was like federally legal from 2018. So you could sell that in like
Oh.
CBD shops or hemp shops and so on and so forth. But then marijuana, like in New Jersey, was medical legal in like 2020. And then like 2021, 2022 is then when it went adult rec. Um, so, I mean, I'm sorry, what was the question again?
I just wanna know, like, has your business expanded a lot just from, like, the legality of it, more people knowing about it, more places selling it, just, like, with the expansion of the legalness of it?
Well, so yeah, I mean, well, again, with CBD, there's not a lot of legalities in it, other than if you put it on a website, you have to because you're then going to be taking credit cards and stuff for online ordering, which then go deals with financial institutions that are federal, and so they want to see your lab reports that prove that it's 0.03% so that of THC in it, so that it was more legal. That's where the legalities were. And it was a big pain in the butt because you had to always like the lab reports would expire every year. And so like at one point every year, you had to like stop everything you were doing, get all the lab reports from all the brands that you were selling, upload them into the website, send the report to the credit card company that has a compliance team.
Mm.
So it's a headache. And it's really ridiculous from a little innocent little weed that gives us so much health benefits. It's just it's surprising how they treat it like it's like this deadly
The
plant.
plague.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
bizarre.
ridiculous. So that's how I had to do it. But it's like that was the segue in because it was one being a brand ambassador from the brand with the different brands, then creating a store, an online store, and then I wanted a brick and mortar. And those things set me up as a business owner in the industry to now apply for my license for marijuana, for a licensed dispensary.
Okay, well, that's such a good part. So, just to clarify also, so when you first started Cannabosslady, you had, like, other products that people could go to your website and buy, like, Camino or other different products
Yeah.
that, like,
Not
you didn't.
Camino, because that's
Oh,
that. Well, I mean, actually, they have a hemp derived version now, but they weren't in the CBD yet. So I would
oh.
say Tribe Tokes was one of the best brands.
Tribe Tokes.
Yeah,
Okay, so you were kind of like a supplier for all these different
correct,
brands. Okay, so you didn't have your own brand quite yet.
correct.
Okay, so now you're like, "I wanna open a brick and mortar." Now what?
Yeah. So then, so I ended up finding because of the pandemic, a lot of places were vacant, and landlords were desperate to get somebody in there, so they were giving really good deals and terms. So, I purposely I found this place in Maplewood Village, and I purposely did a 10-year lease because I was like, if I turn this into a dispensary, I want to make sure I have this secured, right?
Smart. Ugh,
So, yeah, I'm always thinking ahead. I always have plan B, plan C, so on and so forth.
very impressive.
Thank you. And so then, so I opened up my CBD shop, and that's the other thing too with the application. They want to know that you have knowledge in the industry and some experience other than your own business experience. They want to know what do you know in the industry. So
Mm.
that was now my ticket, if you will, because it was like I own a CBD shop and so on and so forth. So I then used all of everything that I learned in that CBD shop and owning a retail business. And honestly, that was the first time I was ever in retail because I was always corporate business, B2B, never B2C. So this was a huge learning moment for me. But because I knew cannabis and I know this was CBD or whatever, and I was so passionate about it,
Mm.
I was like, I can sell a paperclip. I can sell anything.
Yeah.
I'll be able to sell this. And I made it super cute because again, like you said, women-owned brand. I was like, this is how I'm going to stand apart. I'm going to make my store so sexy and cute
Mhm.
and comfortable that's going to cater to women first so that they feel like they're coming into like a boutique or a salon where they feel warm and cozy and where the women are, the men will come.
Yeah.
And they did because like women would send their husbands in, like, hey, go pick me up my pain cream for me. And then he'd come in and he goes, this place is great. What you got anything for me? I was like,
Right.
yes, it's all universal. It's made for everybody.
Right.
And but I had like a velvet green couch in there and I did consultations
Wow.
and I would do house calls. And that's the thing is that's what I set out to do, because also coming off the pandemic, people were ordering online and they were kind of sick of it.
Mm.
And they were like, I want to talk to someone in person that's going to walk me through this stuff. And I was like, not only will I walk you through it and you can come in here, but I'll come to your house or I'll do a phone call. And people were like, oh, thank you. I'm like, yeah, because I'm so passionate about this. I want to be there for you through your whole journey. I want to handhold everyone through this, because I knew eventually I was going to have a dispensary and those customers would convert over to that. And I
Mhm.
wanted them to feel comfortable and safe and know that they had someone to carry them through this. And being that and now I'm their age. So most of my clientele is over 40, affluent women over 40, soccer moms, career moms, and then everyone else. That's like majority of my clientele. And I'm that
Mhm.
demographic.
Right.
So now they were talking to someone that they saw themselves in. And I'm like, and look at me. I'm not, do I look like a stoner? Do I look like a loser?
Right.
No, I'm actually a strong businesswoman, a mother, with a daughter and so on. And so they could relate to me and, well, if she can do it and look like that and have this great family and all this stuff, then it won't hurt me either.
Right.
So then the CBD shop took off. And that was February of 2021. And then I got awarded my license in February of 2023 and opened and I got lucky because the gift shop next door to my CBD shop decided to move on.
Exactly what you were saying.
And
You put it out there, and if it comes to you.
yes. And the landlord loved me, and he's also a cannabis consumer,
Love.
and he was like thrilled to have a dispensary in his building. So he was like, "Hey, do you want it?" And I was like, "Hell yeah." So I have the place next door, so I have the whole retail floor space of this building.
In Maplewood Village.
Yeah, in Maplewood Village.
What does getting your license look like?
It's really hard, and you really have to have a thick skin to do it, and you have to have a lot of money and a lot of grit and a lot of tenacity. It is not for the fainted-hearted. Like it's extremely
Getting your license is strenuous.
it's extremely difficult, and the application process is not easy. And so I've hired an amazing lawyer, and then I actually did hire a consulting company to help me with the application. And it cost me $100,000 just to apply for the application.
Jesus Christ, that is so much money.
Yeah.
And you need the license to do exactly what? Just
To
because I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean the license, in order to do you have to have your license to first. Well, actually, let me back up for a second. First, you have to find the town that's opted in to allow dispensaries in their town, and you have to get permission from them. So it's what they call as an endorsement. So I had to go kiss up to the mayor and the deputy mayor and the whole township council to prove to them that you want me to be the one that opens this dispensary. And then thankfully I did, and they did give me a letter of endorsement. And then you have to take that with your application, and then you submit that to the state, and wait for a year as they go through the whole process, approving how they approve the process. And they say 90 days before we even look at your application. And then it takes however long it takes. And so you're holding your breath, and you're also holding onto property, because if you do get the license, it's go time and you need to have that property. And then you have to work on your build out, and your build out has to be highly regulated. You have to have cameras that you would put into a bank.
Wow.
So it's extremely expensive and strategic, in the sense that, like, you literally have to have a security expert come into your space and map out all the corners and all the blind spots to put a camera. And then you have to get the super high end camera. It's not Ring. You can't get Ring for this. um, and so, there's that process. And then you have to make sure, then you had to have metal doors in certain rooms, because everything has to be bulletproof and breakthrough proof. And you have to build a vault to put your weed in, and you're safe with your money. And that means you need to have metal wired cages built into your walls so that somebody can't just break through the what do you call it? The white wall, what's the word?
The like, I don't know, like the drywall?
Yeah, the drywall. Thank you. Yes, the drywall. Because that's easy to break through, believe it or not. So we had to put metal cages in between the drywall so that if they did try to break through my drywall, then they would hit this metal grade cage that you can't even use a chainsaw on.
At any point during this, are you like, this is too much, this is ridiculous, or are you dead set on, I am doing this?
I would just pull out a joint and smoke it and go, I'm back in.
Yeah.
Everything's good. Because going would get tough.
Yeah.
There were many times that I was like, what the hell am I doing? Can I survive this? But because I love cannabis so much and I'm so passionate about it, and I totally believe that my purpose on this earth was to be a cannabis healer, and I was going to do it no matter what. And I did, and I was lucky to build a really great team that stood behind me. Not only the team that was going to help me open the dispensary, the bud tenders and the inventory manager, and my receptionist and the security guard and all that kind of stuff. I also had this advisory team, the lawyers, a dispensary manager that had been in the business for a long time that advised me. All advisors, not a board, because I am independently owned. I do not have any investors.
That makes sense. That's amazing.
Smart and not smart.
I think you probably sought out the pros and cons of everything, and it probably is smart. So you seem to be doing okay.
I love it in the sense that I own everything 100% and I don't have to answer to anybody. But, when the going gets tough, and sometimes, I'll be honest, there's some days that I'm wondering if I'm going to make payroll because I had to pay a bunch of taxes. And that gets a little scary. But it's nice to not to have to report to a board or investors and them telling me what I can and can't do. Because, again, I've been in this since I was 15 years old. I know exactly what everybody wants and needs, and especially with women, and being in the advertising and marketing world, dealing with, even though I was B2B, I was still dealing with consumer packaging, consumer products. And I pay attention because I'm very intuitive with people. I was paying attention to how people like to consume, how they consumed, what they wanted to consume. And I was going to curate the best products in my store that catered to those things.
It seems like you did it and you wanted to elevate it a little bit more, that you started your own. Would we call it a brand, a strain? What would we call your product?
A brand of pre-rolls. And the first variety pack to hit the market, the country, the state, first one. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it was really hard to do. And the funny thing is that because, when I knew that after I opened the CBD shop, then I opened the dispensary, and I was like, okay, now I want to start a brand, and it has to be pre-rolls and we call joints pre-rolls now because we're trying to get around the stigma.
Yeah.
That was always my go-to. Like, that was my favorite thing. And so I was like, that's the focus I want. And eventually I do want to do jars of flower too, which is why my flower brand is Cannabosslady Flower.
Okay.
Because I'm hoping I wanted it all encompassing, because I want to do the pre-rolls, but then I also want flower. And I was thinking to myself, I'm functional on cannabis, and I smoke all the different strains for different experiences. And why isn't there a variety pack that gives me the 3 strains, And everyone was like, yeah, wait, scratching their heads. I was like, yeah, why is that? They would have maybe 3 different packs that had the hybrid sativa and indica or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but I don't necessarily want to buy 3 packs, like I want to have 1 pack with 1 strain of each. And I also, because I do smoke cigarettes once in a while when I drink. I'm a social smoker. And nothing's better than lighting a cigarette with a matchstick.
Yeah.
To strike it, and it lights, and you get to blow it out. And also too, it was funny because when I was in college, I did buy one of those cigarette tins, like where you would
Yeah.
fill it. You'd put your cigarettes in, like old school back in the 50s and the 60s. They had the cigarette cases and they were all chic and sexy and stuff like that. And I would buy them in like the thrift shops or like the pawn shops or whatever, right? And I have and people would always say, because when I would get a cigarette, I would open up one of those packs. I was so sophisticated.
Yeah.
And people would be like, where'd you get that? So cool or whatever. So when I was coming up with this brand, I was like, I want to make it like opening up one of those cigarette cases, which is why it opens like a book, you know?
Yeah, it's
And it's a
easy.
tin.
Wait, here, I want you to show it. Because so yeah, there's a 3 again, like when I was going through the dispensary in Hoboken and I saw the name is what caught me, but then it came out and I was with my friends who are a couple and I was like, "You guys, have you ever seen something like this?" And then we got high that night and I was like, "I'm going to ask her to come on the podcast." And they were like, "Dana, you just got this." And I was like, "No, no, no. It's so freaking smart that like look, I have one.
Full pack that you can show.
Okay, I want you to show. So it comes with the matches that are just so gorgeous and feminine, but then it also has the 3 strains. And also what I find, Jill, is after I'll smoke a joint or a pre-roll, whatever we want to call it today, I'm like, shit, where do I put it now? Where do I put it? Oh, put it back in its home.
Yeah.
That's where you put it.
Yeah.
And then wait, what if you don't have a lighter?
Matches with the match sticker.
No, this was made by a woman. It's amazing. So I'm very proud of you because
Thank you.
like just hearing your story, I can tell that this has impacted you in such a positive way. And now you get to bring that to millions, billions, X amount of people.
Yeah.
And it's really special. So you mentioned you want to do the flower. You mentioned you already do the flower?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're working on the pre-rolls. I want to do a couple of additions to the pre-rolls.
Okay.
One, people are loving the hybrid, so they're really asking me to do a separate pack of the hybrid. And then a lot. Have you heard of dog walkers?
Of
The
course.
little short
The
joints.
tiny ones, yeah.
Yeah. So they were like, "Oh, would you ever make these into those little dog walkers?" And I was like, "Oh, you know what I could do is I could make a 6-pack, and each 0.5 gram pre-roll could just each be in 2. I could cut it in half, so each strain would have 2 little dog walkers."
Smart.
And so I could still keep my same tin,
Mm,
change the plastic a little bit so they would fit in, and I would just have 2 little sativas, 2 little hybrids, 2 little indicas.
that's really smart.
And then I would have the variety pack as is, and then I would do a pack that was just the hybrid.
Who grows the weed?
So, being that I grew up on the West Coast, I grew up with sun-grown weed. It was very important to me that my marijuana be sun-grown.
Mm.
And but that's hard in New Jersey because of the seasons. And so I found these guys that are so amazing. Born and raised between the Poconos in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and they were all about sun-grown too as well. And they ended up getting it's a woman-owned farm with the owners, and one's a veteran.
Mm.
And Hispanic, and then a woman's involved too, and they have a Dutch greenhouse apparatus or building,
Right.
so therefore they can grow all year round because they can control the climate within this greenhouse. But it's a state of the art. See, didn't spill
mean,
because
I'll clip that for you and you can just put that as an ad. I mean, that's amazing.
And now they do the farm does have land outside during the summer that they can grow stuff and get some
Mhm.
strains that way, but they always have this Dutch greenhouse, and it's amazing how the fans and the way they can control the climate,
Mhm.
it's unbelievable. And so I got my sun-grown weed, and I love it. And it's really it's exactly what I wanted, and the exact partners that I wanted, because they're the nicest guys. They're so lovely. They're so they're so passionate about cannabis as well. They've all been consuming it as long as I have. And we're all in it for the right reasons. We're not in it just to make money. We're in it because this is our lifestyle and we want to share it with everybody.
You're people also.
Yeah.
You're going to find each other.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I want to get into You're Not That Deep of the Day before we wrap it up, where you can tell everybody where to find you on socials, but also in person. But first and foremost, Jill, what's your Not That Deep of the day?
So so at a Halloween party, of course, I always have cannabis on me wherever I go. I like to share, share, and share. And then, of course, if they like it, I'm like, oh, you can buy it in my dispensary.
Yeah.
But it's my personal supply. So it's not me giving it out. It's my personal supply that I share. So I'm at a Halloween party. And of course, I'm always outside with people smoking joints. And so this one woman comes out, oh, can I have a puff? And I said, well, do you know how to consume? Are you regular? Not really, whatever. And I was like, okay, well, this is really strong, so be careful. I'm just take one puff. And she does. And then I never see her again for the rest of the night. She comes into my dispensary today and she's like, Cannabosslady, you got me really high at the Halloween party. And I like took a couple steps back and I was like, okay, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Because the way you're coming up on me, like, I'm not sure if like, you're like, you got me really high at the party. I can't tell if like that
You
ruined
don't
your
know.
night
Yeah.
or if it was a good thing. And she goes, oh no, it was great. And so I was like, oh, great. Don't take that too deep.
That's pretty good. That's funny. Oh my gosh. Of course she had a great experience from you.
And then, of course, I'm like, well, you can come in and I have all that stuff here to buy. She goes, yeah, I'll be back. I'll be back. But it was just funny because it wasn't like she was saying, oh, you got me really high. It was awesome. I had the best night. It was just like, you got me really high that night. I'm like, okay, and?
Right.
And?
Oh my God, that's not that deep. It's not that deep to get way too high at a party.
That was the point, right? I mean, you came out to hang out with all the stoners, like.
What did you expect?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I thought that was kind of funny.
That's a great one. Jill, where can everybody find you physically, but also on social media?
Yes. So I have 2 handles on Instagram. One is the Cannabosslady, all one word. Remember to put the word the in there, the Cannabosslady. And the other one is Boss Lady Elevated because my dispensary is elevated by the Cannabosslady. And then I have Cannaboss Flower, and then I have the Cannabosslady CBD shop. Yeah.
Where are those
and
in case people want to visit, of course.
Yes. So the brand is sold all over New Jersey in 50 dispensaries right now. I'm hoping to get to all 200 plus soon. But my dispensary is in Maplewood, New Jersey in Essex County, and it's on 9 Highland Place. Wasn't that meant to be?
That's funny. Highland.
Yeah, Highland.
Come to the land of high.
Yeah. So it was, and I didn't even think of that when I got the space and then I'm like filling out the paperwork and stuff. I'm like, wait, my address is Highland Place. Like, this is great.
Wow.
So 9 Highland Place, right in Maplewood Village. It's adorable, cute little walkable village with lots of restaurants and shops and bars. So you can, and I have a parking lot right next to my dispensary, which is on the side street. So you can come into my store, get your cannabis, smoke up, head into town, and then have a great experience with food, drinks, shopping, whatever.
I will be there.
The whole experience.
Next time I go back to Jersey to Westfield, we will bring the whole family
Yes,
along.
please
But
do.
thank you so much for coordinating with me and coming in and coming on Not That Deep.
Yes, you're amazing, Dana.
So nice to meet you.
Yes, love this. Thank you so much.